You're not ready for this. Jonathan Roumie, known to millions as Jesus from The Chosen, experienced something so personal, so unexpected, that it changed his life. And it wasn't part of the script. It wasn't something he signed up for. It was something deeper, something divine. But this isn't just a story about a scene. It's the story of a man being transformed. Make sure to hit subscribe and turn on the notifications button so you don't miss powerful faith moments like this one.
Going about doing this movie was, thinking that if we had done this thing in a controlled set, you would have never saw the performance. It was truly birthed in pain. Oh. Again, I was scourged, accidentally whipped. During the carrying of the cross, my shoulder was dislocated. Up on the cross, I had, I weighed 210 pounds. In the filming, I was about 168. I was so sick, I kept throwing up. I had my both lungs filled with fluid, pneumonia. After the movie was over, many people don't know, and I don't talk about it too much, but I have to have heart surgery. Wow. So I was struck by lightning on the last shot of the day.
The first day I think we started filming, those 2 weeks, was for The Last Supper, and I had my spiritual director. He came out to be with me, and I was sitting in the hair and makeup chair, and next thing I know, like I get these massive pains, like just shooting up into my ear, and I'm like, it's just anxiety. It's like, at one point I had heart palpitations. I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't know what's happening, but I'm just, and I texted my spiritual director, who was in the other room, and he's like, I'm saying a rosary for you right now. And in 15 minutes, it all went away and everything was fine.
You hear these stories and your jaw drops. Jim being struck by lightning while playing Jesus in The Passion. Dislocated shoulders, hanging on a cross in freezing rain. He didn't just play the part, he bled for it. And then Jonathan Roumie, walking a different road through The Chosen, speaks of emotional and spiritual attacks that left him drained, confused, and fighting for clarity on the set. This is what most of us expect when we hear miracle, a brush with death, a sudden healing, a supernatural rescue. And yes, God moved. He preserves. He protects. But here's the twist. The greatest miracle wasn't the lightning strike. It wasn't just about surviving the pain. Maybe it started quietly, right when no one was watching. Because what Jonathan says next is not about danger. It's about a moment so holy, it left him undone.
And he said, what's going on? And so I took him aside. I said, listen, man, I'm having a hard time right now. Like, I was starting to feel panicked and overwhelmed. Almost like I've only had one panic attack in my life, and it started to feel like it was creeping into that, and I didn't know why, or how. Well, I kind of knew. I thought I knew why, and what was going on. But I just said, hey, can we slow it down? And he said, what's going on? And I said, I'm saying these words, and hearing myself say them, I don't feel worthy to be saying them.
Jonathan says he felt outside himself, like he wasn't worthy to speak those words. And he wasn't delivering just any lines. He was speaking Jesus' words from the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus said it himself in John 6:63b. The words I've spoken to you, they are full of spirit and life. As Jonathan said those words, he felt the weight of it. That moment, it might have been where the real miracle began, not with thunder, but with trembling. In the still, small voice as Elijah experienced. Because before God transforms the world through you, he first begins transforming you. But here's the thing. Sometimes God doesn't begin the miracle with fire from heaven. He starts it with a heart that breaks under the weight of truth. And what Jonathan shares next, it wasn't pain from the outside, it was something happening within.
I realized I was at a point where no matter how I tried to control my circumstances, it just wasn't enough. I did everything I was supposed to do. I went above and beyond. I'm a bit of a workaholic, and so I could just keep finding things to do. I had I was putting all this effort into all this other stuff as well that weren't even related to the industry, just to survive. And it wasn't working. And I finally literally got to my knees and I said, God, if you want this to work, if I'm doing the right thing, if I'm here doing what I'm supposed to be doing on this planet, I'm in the right place, you got to help me, because I can't do this on my own.
I always say I never played him. He played me. Let God play you. He knows you better than you know yourself.
This is what most people miss. The miracle usually begins with us. It starts with a breaking point within ourselves. Jonathan admits he didn't feel worthy. He doubted himself. He questioned why God would use him for something this big. But that's exactly where it starts. 1 Corinthians 1:27 says, God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God isn't looking for stars, he's looking for servants. And at this moment, Jonathan totally surrendered. He was yielding. Then Jim says it. I didn't play Jesus. I allowed him to play me. That's surrender. That's the start of a miracle. When you stop performing and start letting God take over. Because the real transformation doesn't begin with ability. It begins with availability. And once surrender happens, that's when God gets to work. Because he's not just after your performance, he's after your pattern. And what happens in Jonathan's life after this moment proves the miracle wasn't just emotional. It became habitual.
Your own personal relationship with Christ and how that has grown or changed as you've played this role. Because when I met you 5 years ago and we were doing The Two Thieves, I wouldn't describe you at nearly as tuned in and close to Christ as you are now. Is it accurate that you're getting closer to Christ through this?
Absolutely. In the last couple of years, having played Christ before this specific project, but with the work I've done with you and two other instances, I feel like God sort of set me up to kind of go deeper by putting these projects in my life.
This is where it all comes together. As he looks back, Jonathan doesn't just see the emotional moments. He sees the man he's become. He didn't just film a show. He changed. His prayer life deepened. His habits shifted. His priorities realigned. What started as a role became a relationship. What began as pressure became purpose. Romans 12:2 says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That's what happened. Because when you walk that closely with Christ, even as an actor, you don't just learn lines, you learn to live differently.
You know, that you can become a slave to that. But I always, talk to your people out there. Do you want to be liked by many or loved by one? And I want to be loved by one. I know that love doesn't come from man, it only comes from God. So, I've said this before, some of you heard it, but it goes, your name may not appear down here. Sorry. Your name may not appear down here in this world's Hall of Fame. In fact, you may be so unknown that no one knows your name. The Oscars and the praise of men may never come your way. But don't forget, God has rewards that he'll hand out someday. This crowd on earth, they will soon forget when you're not at the top. They will cheer like mad until you fall, and then their praise will stop, not God. He never does forget. And in his Hall of Fame, by just believing on his Son, forever there's your name.
You would have thought that lightning strikes, spiritual attacks, and every near-death experience they faced while playing these roles would be the greatest moment for them. But for just like Jonathan, that last line for Jim, it hits hard. The only spectator that matters is God. Not the critics, not the cameras, not even the fans. When the lights fade and the scene ends, the only eyes that truly matter are his. And maybe that's the miracle we're all being invited to stop performing, to start becoming. Perhaps the real miracle wasn't what happened on set after all. Maybe it's what happened inside the hearts of two men, and what can still happen inside of you. Let that be your reminder. God isn't just watching your life, he's working in it. If you're watching this, leave a comment and let us know how God has been transforming you. And if you know someone who's chasing approval from the wrong crowd, send this to them, because the only spectator that matters is God. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.